October 23rd, 2025, and this is Read Through the Bible.
Hi, everyone.
I just want to bring up a bad memory. I remember, I think it was the summer of, I'm guessing, 1998, maybe?
Okay.
96. Do you remember what happened? We were in California and something happened at home. Remember that at all?
Oh, we had a flood.
We had a flood, and we were gone in California. And
flood in our basement.
And our basement flooded while we were gone.
Yeah.
It was awful. Mm-hmm. Now, thankfully, my dad lives right down the street, and a neighbor called up, says, I've tried, a neighbor, like, banging on our door and just saying, hey, Steve, and we weren't answering, and so we went to my dad, and so my dad came over with my brother.
Good thing.
Yeah, and they basically rescued a bunch of things out. Otherwise, the basement would have been totally full with water had they not come.
Yeah, that.
Well, why do I tell you that story?
I think it was 1995.
I tell you the story because we're reading in 1 Samuel chapter 30, and David was away, ready to fight with the Philistines, and what happened when he was gone back at Ziklag was bad.
Oh, okay. Not a flood, but
something worse. So let's read.
He didn't have anyone to warn him and call him.
No, this was bad as well. And our flood was one thing, but this would be really bad too. Okay, so chapter 30, verse 1. Now when David and his men came to Ziklag on the third day, the Amalekites made a raid against the Negeb and against Ziklag. And they had overcome Ziklag and burned it with fire and taken captive the women and all who were in it, both small and great. They killed no one, but carried them off and went their way. And when David and his men came into the city, they found it burned with fire and their wives and sons and daughters taken captive. So, they were away, contemplating going up and fighting. And meanwhile, this disaster is happening. These Amalekites are coming and burning their city. They're expecting to come home to see their wives and children, and they're gone.
Right.
Cities. This is worse than a flood.
And it's interesting. It was the Amalekites, not the Philistines, but the Amalekites who attacked the city.
All these people. Yeah, they're thinking about fighting the Philistines, Israel, and the Amalekites. All these people all over the place.
Time.
Yeah. And then David and all the people who were with him raised their voices and wept until they had no more strength to weep. For sure. David's two wives also had been taken captive, Ahinoam of Jezreel and Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. We read that in chapter 25 about Abigail and Nabal. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him because all the people were bitter in soul, each for his sons and daughters, but David strengthened himself in the Lord his God.
Verse 7, and David... Oh, by the way, that'd be interesting if there was a psalm that had that as a superscription, about this situation. Because David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. That's very much what he's doing in the Psalms.
Wow, that's great. Yep.
So, anyway, okay. And so, verse 7, and David said to Abiathar the priest, the son of Ahimelech, bring me the ephod. So Abiathar brought the ephod to David. Remember, Abiathar is the one priest who ran away and escaped when Doeg the Edomite killed the high priest and the 85 priests. And so Abiathar is kind of like David's personal priest here. And he brought this ephod with him. And the ephod seems to be kind of a way that you can ask God questions and get answers.
Thummim, yep.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, David said, bring the ephod, because he wants to ask God what to do. Verse 8, and David inquired of the Lord, shall I pursue after this band?
There's the band on the run.
Oh.
Right?
Yes, there it is.
All right, so here's the band.
Okay, so David says, shall I pursue after this band? Shall I overtake them? He answered him, pursue, for you shall surely overtake and shall surely rescue. And so there's David asking of the Lord before he does something again.
Yep.
Verse 9, so David set out, and the 600 men who were with him, and they came to the brook Besor, where those who were left behind stayed. But David pursued, he and 400 men. 200 stayed behind, who were too exhausted to cross the brook Besor.
They found an Egyptian in the open country and brought him to David. And they gave him bread, and he ate, and gave him water to drink, and they gave him a piece of a cake of figs, and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his spirit revived, for he had not eaten bread or drunk water for 3 days and 3 nights. And David said to him, to whom do you belong? And where are you from? He said, I am a young man of Egypt, servant to an Amalekite, and my master left me because I fell sick 3 days ago. Well, it just speaks about the brutality of these people. You fall sick, you just kind of leave them, and it's been 3 days.
Because you're a hindrance, so forget it. You just get left behind.
We had made a raid against the Negeb of the Kerethites and against that which belongs to Judah and against the Negeb of Caleb, and we burned Ziklag with fire. So this Egyptian was there having burned Ziklag, and David said to him, will you take me down to this band? And he said, swear to me by God that you will not kill me or deliver me into your hands of my master, and I will take you down to this band.
Verse 16, and when he had...
So here we see this band on the run. Yep, totally.
The Amalekite band.
Yep, the Amalekite band.
Right. And when he had taken him down, behold, they were spread abroad over all the land, eating and drinking and dancing because of all the great spoil they had taken from the land of the Philistines and from the land of Judah. And David struck them down from twilight until the evening of the next day, and not a man of them escaped, except 400 young men who mounted camels and fled. David recovered all that the Amalekites had taken, and David rescued his 2 wives. Nothing was missing, whether small or great, sons or daughters, spoil or anything that had been taken. David brought back all. And David captured all the flocks and herds, and the people drove the livestock before him and said, this is David's spoil.
It's amazing that none of it was missing.
Yeah, none of the people had been killed.
Yeah.
None of the animals had been killed.
Then David came to the 200 men who had been too exhausted to follow David and who had been left at the brook Besor. And they went out to meet David and to meet the people who were with him. And when David came near to the people, he greeted them. Then all the wicked and worthless fellows among the men who had not gone with David said, because they did not go with us, we will not give them any of the spoil that we have recovered, except that which each man may lead his wife away, his wife and his children, and depart. He basically said, if they're too exhausted, they can't come, they can't get the spoil. Mm-hmm. And David, in grace, says this, but David said, you shall not do so, my brothers. With what the Lord has given to us, he has preserved us and given into our hands the band that came against us. Who would listen to you in this matter? For as his share is who goes down into the battle, so shall his share be who stays by the baggage. They shall share alike. And he made it a statute and a rule for Israel from that day forward to this day.
Because I guess that was an important rule, too, to stay by the baggage, protect their supplies.
Well, it's a little bit like in military days today, right? There are people who serve in the kitchen, right? And there are medics and there are weathermen. One of our neighbors served over in Iraq as a weatherman, right? And they're not fighting on the battle, but that's what they're doing. And so everybody is all part of it. Yeah. All right.
Okay, verse 38. When David came to Ziklag, he sent part of the spoil to his friends, the elders of Judah. What? Now the elders of Judah are his friends, and he was willing to go fight them. Anyway, I don't know. But, okay. He said, here is a present for you from the spoil of the enemies of the Lord. It was for those in Bethel, in Ramoth of the Negeb, in Jatir, in Aroer, in Sifmoth, in Eshtemoa, in Rekal, in the cities of the Jerahmeelites, in the cities of the Kenites, in Hormah, in Borashan, in Athak, in Hebron, and for all the places where David and his men had roamed.
Well, it may be because he's so embittered against the Philistines not being able to fight with them that he's kind of undermining them. And just, here, Judah, I capture this for you. I'm no longer for the Philistines. Yeah. Okay, so chapter here, David's away, and Ziklag gets ravished and burned, and basically David returns the spoil, goes and attacks and gets the spoil. With none of the wives and children of all the city of Ziklag dying. It's amazing.
That is amazing.
Okay, and here comes the end of an era. If you look at ESV heading, it just says the death of Saul. It speaks about him, his 3 sons, even Jonathan also, his armor bearer dying. This is a bad chapter.
This is the last chapter.
Last chapter in 1 Samuel, and... by the way, this afternoon, then we'll put out a
recap edition.
Recap edition. We'll go through all of 1 Samuel, try to categorize it for you. It's the transition from the Judges to the Kings, and from Samuel to the first King, Saul, is really what 1 Samuel is about. And we'll highlight big chapters and tell you kind of what's happening chapter by chapter, do micro summaries. Okay, chapter 31. Now the Philistines were fighting against Israel, and the men of Israel fled before the Philistines and fell slain on Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines overtook Saul and his sons, and the Philistines struck down Jonathan and Abinadab and Malchishua, the sons of Saul. The battle pressed hard against Saul, and the archers found him, and he was badly wounded by the archers. Then Saul said to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and thrust me through with it, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through and mistreat me." So he wanted to die rather than to be tortured, which is like why spies carry cyanide pills. So lest they be tortured, they can just kill themselves quickly. But his armor-bearer would not, for he feared greatly. Right? He wasn't going to touch the Lord's anointed. Therefore Saul took his own sword and fell upon it. And when his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he also fell upon his sword and died with him. Thus Saul died, and his 3 sons, and his armor-bearer, and all his men, on the same day together. And when the men of Israel, who were on the other side of the valley, and those beyond the Jordan, saw that the men of Israel had fled, and that Saul and his sons were dead, they abandoned their cities and fled, and the Philistines came and lived in them.
Wow.
It's interesting if
It's
David
this is a bad turn.
Yeah,
here.
for sure.
Verse 8, the next day, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. So, this is the Philistines, they cut off his head and stripped off his armor and sent messengers throughout the land of the Philistines to carry the good news to the house of their idols and to the people. They put his armor in the temple of Ashtaroth, and they fastened his body to the wall of Bethshan. But when the inhabitants of Jabesh-Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Saul, all the valiant men arose and went all night and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bethshan, and they came to Jabesh and burned them there. And they took their bones and buried them under the tamarisk tree in Jabesh and fasted 7 days.
And here we just see the value of bodies. Just the men of Jabesh-Gilead went a long distance so as to try to make sure that Saul and his sons' bodies weren't dishonored, taking them off the wall and disposing them properly.
Given an honorable burial.
Yeah,
and so I think the reason why the Jabesh-Gilead people came to rescue Saul's body is because in 1 Samuel 11, like right after Samuel had anointed Saul or chosen him as king, people were doubting him, and then there was a siege on the city of Jabesh-Gilead. The Ammonites came and surrounded Jabesh-Gilead, and Saul very heroically rescued them and defeated the Ammonites. And
my hero.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he was a hero there of Jabesh-Gilead. He had saved their city back in 1 Samuel 11, and so here I think they wanted to honor him, and were horrified at what had been done to Saul's body and his son's bodies.
So anyway, your summaries in chapter 31, you can do as short as you want, like just even the ESV has the death of Saul. You can do that, or you can remember about how Saul and his 3 sons were displayed publicly, heads cut off, displayed publicly, and then the valiant men of Jabesh-Gilead take, burn, and bury Saul's body. Like you can remember all those details as well. But shorter is probably better.
Verse 12 says, all the valiant men. So
there
you could say the valiant men of Jabesh-Gilead.
Yep. Okay, and we'll see you this afternoon.
Yes, we'll do a recap of the book of 1 Samuel.
Okay, bye-bye.
Goodbye.